Good luck.
What happened? He's recording himself.
Why not? I'm in a great position.
Jen's gonna love you. This is great.
We had a discussion.
Ah.
All right, guys. Hello, fellow data scientists. It's basically, I'm Smeeth, and I'll be discussing a price prediction model for the classifieds. So classifieds is like Craigslist and other car websites that don't have a price suggestion tool. And it's really hard to get the price a car to sell when you don't have a suggestion tool. So for example, if someone is going on to say this car is going online, how do you determine what the price is? Anyone want to take a guess? No?
$5,000.
There we go. It's actually 17. And the model that we're using, the logistical model, linear regression logistical model, predicted it to be about 16,000. So it's close enough. EDA, so we're going to discuss a little about where I got the data from was Carfax and usedcars.com. I gathered a total of 26,000 data points using Selenium and Beautiful Soup for the most part, and then I use pandas for the analysis. First, I would like to discuss the models I used, and then I'll discuss the residuals and stuff. So the first model, I actually got a good R-squared on it with a very low p-value. I was happy for it, but I wanted to get better results. So Sophie introduced the log y tool, and it was really helpful for my data set specifically. And you can see the results a little bit later. So basically, I was able to get about 82% on the test set. There were 105 predictors, so I'm not going to bring all of them up. One of the top predictors, as you can guess, was make, year, and number of cylinders. And the other tests were performed, such as cross-validation and lasso regression model test, and it passed with flying colors. This is the residual error plot. As you can see on the top, non-log-wide transform model, the 30,000 is right here. There's a lot of points going over 30,000, and the error is just so high. As you can see from the log-wide transform, we squished it down, and the error is not going up there, not even halfway there. So it really did great for this model. As you can see, the distribution analysis of the Y factor, it was right skewed, and when I did the Y transform, magic happened. Same thing with the QQ plot. The normal QQ plot, it basically, the red line is just picture it as like a bell curve, straightened out, and the blue line is the data on the bell curve. So on the top end, as you saw the right end, it was right skewed, so that's what's happening there. We have that after transformation, but it's not as bad. And basically, a conclusion is, assumptions were that most of the used cars fell under the $75,000 range. So that's something I used to keep the prediction rate high. And as a result, I was accurately able to predict 83% of the variance in car prices. Thank you.
Wow. He was on time?
The first one.
Any questions?
Wow.
So super happy.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple things, but I'm really happy you wanted to. So yeah, did I miss it, or did you talk about the features that you use?
Yeah, I actually used over 105 features. So I just mentioned the top features. I didn't want to go through the hassle of including all the variables and the lasso. So the predictors were make, year, and number of cylinders. Yeah.
When you use lasso, how many were left?
Lasso, basically, I would say 75% lasso model used, the 30%, 25% lasso omitted.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is, like, you're in the, at least so far, unique position of having more time to talk about things. And so this case, so when we think about priorities, you might think about like a few things to include, and one of them is exactly what Naomi was talking about. Is like you did mention that, and I did miss it, that like little bullet point. But I would want to maybe like go about like, okay, what are those features like compared to other things? Like what are the coefficients that you fitted? And then that gives us sort of a sense of like what your model actually is. Maybe Julia will mention this. At the very beginning, I really liked having that example. That was very, very effective. Having the vehicle and then somebody guessed the price, and then your model did well. Maybe just like mention, okay, this is a model that I'll talk about later on, because you are going out of order, and I think it brought people in, but it is sort of like out of order. So just to say like, all right, like hold your horses, worrying about what this is. I'll tell you more about it later.
Okay.
And then, yeah, otherwise I just would want to see like more about what the actual model like was and what it learned. But other than that, I think you did really well.
Yeah, good job. I agree. Like, I think just in terms of a story, you want us to feel that pivot with you. So you started here, but I got here. And maybe it was just a long transport, but you got there. So show us like one slide. You kind of gave it all away in one go, on one slide. So we want more of the suspense.
Right.
And mention some of those critical details. Like, you did a lot of work to back transform, but you didn't tell us that. So like, you know, show us all that stuff, or at least
Sounds
mention.
good.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to mention, if you back up, maybe was it one behind this or one before it? The violin plots. Yes, I don't think anybody else has had those. So I just want to plug this as just a general plot. So I've seen a lot of box and whiskers. Those are okay. They're kind of old school. This gives you an idea of the distribution of each of these variables, and so I can see that like the second from the right is like a little squat, and maybe it's like.
Maryland doesn't spend much on cars.
Yeah, but then you can see like which ones of these are right skewed. You know, most of the first like few of them are right skewed. So this is just a really effective way to see at a glance, and you don't get any of that information from a box plot. So, big fan of violin plots.
Thank you. Yeah.
So back to your example, you know, I think like one thing that could have tied that in for me pretty cool was you could say like, look, I predict this price is $16,000. This car is $2,000 overpriced. Maybe you want to like have or don't do this. You know, help me like get the business reason as to why you're going after this.
Right.
A little bit.
So one of the bigger business reasons for doing this was I noticed from the residual plots that a lot of car prices are rounded to the nearest 500 or 1,000 number. So if that's a feature I included in my model, I would increase my accuracy. But that's something I wasn't getting around. I didn't get around to. Other than that, yeah.
Yeah, like, that's a really cool insight.
Yeah.
I would have mentioned that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I want to mention what makes Where powerful. Like, those are interesting details, especially for your car people. You know which cars are, you know, predictive.
Yeah, definitely should have included the lasso
Yeah.
model, but next time.
Yeah.
I like how he excluded all those abnormalities, like more expensive cars are more unpredictable outliers. So he cut it down to like 70,000, 75,
Yeah.
or something, right? So.
Still, Maybach car had the highest influencing factor. Because they start at $40,000 even used, so it was definitely a high price predictor. Yep.
Good job, Sunny.